Hi everybody. Today we're working on creating a button inside of Animate. So let's go. Go ahead and grab your rectangle tool and choose a color that you like. I'm just going to drag out this blue one. And whenever you're working with these kinds of things, you know that you're going to have to make a symbol. So click on your graphic, right click, and then come down to where it says convert to symbol. Let's name this symbol, and I'm going to say plain button. So nothing fancy about this. Make sure that the type is set to button because it's going to give us some different options. It's going to give us a different timeline, and then click OK. Now we know we have a symbol because we can see this little point here in the middle. Double click it and head on in. So this first layer, we're going to call this background. Then I want you to add a layer above that by clicking the plus sign. This is going to be our text layer. I'm just going to go ahead and name that now. Keeping a good track of what layers do what is so important, and it's going to speed up your workflow when you don't have to hunt around for stuff. Let's add some text. Grab your text. I'm sorry, you know what? Let's change the color. I'm going to make the color white, and then grab the text tool, and let's say, how about contact? Now, these text boxes are driving me crazy lately. Okay. Yeah, they've changed it a little bit, and it's just being weird. Now, it thinks its fill is supposed to be that blue, so I'm going to go back here and do the white. There we go. And I'm going to have to kind of eyeball this because it doesn't like to center it properly. You know, it does a pretty good job centering horizontally, but because there's a little bit of extra space, you know, where the Y would normally be like the descenders on your things, it gets a little funky as far as like, yeah, as far as like the vertical alignment goes. All right, I'm gonna go with that, I think. Maybe not. Just kind of have to eyeball it. Just get it close. All right, I'm gonna put it back in the center. Ah, good enough. All right, so we have some text here, we have a background here, and this is the first of these states. So underneath the playhead here, you see the word up. Up translates to the appearance of the button when the user is not interacting with it. Okay, so they're not doing anything. The next one over that says over is the equivalent of hover. So let's go ahead and set that over or hover state. And you'll probably hear me say hover instead of over because I'm such a web person. So right click and let's insert keyframe because we want to copy the art into the new frame, but we're going to change it a little bit. I'm going to invert the colors. So I'm going to make the text blue and the background white with probably a little gray background around it. So white text, I'm going to go into the properties, change my fill. Oops, I meant blue text. Excuse me. There we go. And then I'm going to go into the background. There we go. Background. Ugh, sorry. Give me a second. Got to go into the object and let's make that white. There we go. And now I need to grab my ink bottle and let's see if it's going to play nicely with me today. Ink bottle and see if I can't get a, yep. Yay. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Okay. I'm going to select all of that by double clicking. And then, you know what? I think that nice light blue color is going to look great there. Okay, let's preview this and see what it looks like. I'm going to hit Command Return on my Mac. If you're on a PC, you're going to hit Control Return, I believe. There it is. That looks great. Oh, I like that so much. Okay, now What I want to do next is I want to tell it what to do whenever I click it. So that equates to the down state. Down equals click. So go ahead and copy the artwork from over into the next one by inserting a keyframe. There it is. And now for the fun stuff. This is where we're going to, excuse me, this is where we're going to add, you could add a little bit of something extra. Like I see a lot of people will make the text have a little bit of italics on it. So let's see here. Do I have an italic, a true italic? I think I do. I've got a bold italic. That'll work. Sure. So let's see what happens here. Now hit Command Return to preview. There it's over. There it's clicked. Okay. Now, one final thing. You've got one state here left, and that's called the hit. The hit is the area that's going to activate an action. So this is really useful when you need a little bit of extra space for clicking. Say you've got a small graphic and you don't have room for a really big button. You make the button the size that you need for the graphic, but then you can define an area outside of that to be your hit state. So watch this. I'm going to insert a keyframe here. And we can just make this guy bigger. I'm just going to drag it out. Now, you're not going to see that because it's just the hit state. Watch this. I'm going to preview it. You see, you can't see that white box with the blue behind it. But watch what happens when I move my cursor closer. Look for where it turns into a hand. You see that? See how much further away it is? So that's where it came into contact with that hit state box. I could click here and activate whatever action script we're going to put on it. But so just keep that in mind. You don't have to have hit states for me for this class, but I want you to know about it. I might have you do it in the homework just to prove that you know what I'm talking about, okay? All right, so that is the basic artwork for our button. Now, in order to put some action script on it and make it do stuff, we have to go back up into the first scene. So let's go back up here. Okay, so select your button instance. Now give it a name. I'm going to say contact BTN. BTN. BTN is a pretty common abbreviation for button, used very frequently in coding. Now, we're going to use some of the pre-made action script. So come up to Window, come down to Actions, and I'm going to drag this on screen so you can see it. Then I want you to come up to Window and come down to Code Snippets. And again, I will drag that on screen. You'll notice that this button says that it's on layer 1 in the first frame. You can put this on whatever layer you want and whatever frame you want, but that's where this particular button is. Twirl open the folder for ActionScript, and I want you to go down to Actions and then double click Go to Web Page. So here it has just put all of this code in there for you, okay? And what's really cool about this code is it just says, hey, go to adobe.com, and I want you to open it in a new window. So if you remember from your HTML class, this looks really, really familiar because we know that setting the attribute of underscore blank it will open up that new window. So I'm going to save this file and then I'm going to preview it. Let's see what it does. And over here, it just opened up Adobe. All right, great. So that is your very basic button where we've set the active state excuse me, the I'm so sorry, I go into HTML all the time. We set the up state, we set the over state for hover, we set the down state, which is the click, we set the hit state, which is that area around that you can specify that could trigger the button, and we also set it with a URL. Now you can change that code. That is not a problem. Watch this. So I'm going to come in here, and all I have to do is find out where it says the URL request is and put in whatever website you want. So that could be hack.edu, right? Just make sure you leave the quotations in the right spot. Now the other thing I wanted to point out is this right here. Do you remember when we talked when I set that instance name? You can't see it just yet, but I set it for contact underscore BTN. So there's the name of whatever it's interacting with. Okay, now I hope that was helpful. I will see you guys in the next video.